Okay, now we're going to turn to mayor candidate specific questions. Each of these questions will have a 2-minute response time. I will begin with Mr. Green. Here is the question. What is your vision for economic development in the city of Smithville? Please give examples and discuss your ideas for funding these initiatives.
I didn't have time to talk about it much in this small amount of time we all got to share with you. I'd like to see us advertise in some major business publications that we are looking for small industries to come into this town. It wouldn't do nothing to our beautiful downtown. I like antiques, obviously. I have antique automobiles. We have antique shops. My wife and I have invested $750,000 in this town, hard cash money. And there's magazines out there that you can invite businesses to come into the town. That would mean more employment availability. That would generate more cash to be spent, hopefully in Smithville instead of at Walmart, and would help us be able to expand as far as housing goes. You can run water pipe all over this place, and if you can't get a home to build on it, you're not doing anything but spending money. That's one of my ideas, but I think that's the main thing. A lot of businesses are looking around for a good place to move. There's a lot of states that they want to get out of because of many reasons: taxes, crime, and the smaller to medium businesses are easier to move. You're not going to get IBM to move out here, but you can get a nice, solid, medium-sized company to move here if we would work with them, offer some special incentives to help them come out here. What was the other question? That was it? All right. So, I think that would be the best way to start. I have many, many ideas. I wish I could spend an hour or two with you guys instead of 90 seconds, which doesn't reflect my experience. I don't
Your time is up.
Brag about who I know.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Saunders.
Just wanted to touch on the sidewalks. We just built multiple new sidewalks in town with grants: 5th and Burleson, 6th and Chandesino, 5th and Olive, 505 Main, Brown Primary, and if you want, you can come to Walk to School Wednesday on May 4th. There's also new stop signs on 1st Street and Powell Street. Our advancement opportunities are the same as any city: economic development, infrastructure, and budgeting. Each is intertwined with the other. When one struggles or prospers, they all do. One underlying factor that is evident from listening to the citizens of Smithville is the desire to progress and advance our city, while at the same time maintaining the small town charm that we know and love. When discussing economic development, it is important to understand that economic growth is an aspect of economic development. It does not do our town any good if all the benefits of economic growth are outsourced to the surrounding areas. It is important we keep the fruits of our labors local. In order to do this, however, we need more resources and options locally for our citizens. It is no secret that the infrastructure of this town is aging. The comprehensive evaluation of city processes has been completed and goals have been set. We are about to launch another economic development survey, and we just completed a study of Smithville on what interests outsiders and brings in tourism specifically to Smithville. I've heard it my whole life: we don't want the big box stores here. Rest assured, there are ways to expand economically without throwing out our small town charm. I know the downtown merchants would love to see more foot traffic on Main Street. The Chamber of Commerce does an outstanding job hosting events downtown to help with this. There are also economic development agencies in the governor's office where prospective Texas business owners go for information as to where to locate. This is a perfect place to look for a good fit for our community. We are also diligently working on processes to expand our city limits. There is much to do and no one can do it alone. We have to work together with each other in the chamber and our county to promote Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you. Second and last specific question for mayor candidates. What are your priorities for Smithville over the next 5 years? An example, special projects you would like to implement, priorities you would focus on specifically in your role as mayor. Mr. Green.
Well, apparently we've had enough grants passed that if we do those grants, that's going to take us 5 years at the rate we're moving, because I haven't seen any of these grants be put in place, except the solar panels for the City Hall. Has anyone seen a reduction in their electric bills? Has anybody seen a reduction in their water bills? You know, we bought the wastewater plant from the LCRA because Tex thought it would be cheaper for us to run it than they could run it. Have you seen any deduction in any of your bills? And the answer is no. So first of all, I'm going to look at each and every grant that was ever passed that has not been done. I'm going to work with every employee, and I'm talking about the guy that drives the truck. I've already got the forms filled out for them to answer questions anonymously. I will know who they are. They will know who they are. No one else will know who they are, to give me frank information on how they're being treated and how they're being scheduled and how their work days are watched over. And then I'm going to go on up to the top, and whoever else wants to do it, you know, when you get up in the upper echelon of the city, they may or may not want to participate, but that's their problem. So then I will know what's going on in Smithville. I'm going to be mayor. I'm not going to be a committee of flowers. I'm sorry, I'm not knocking that. I think that's very important, okay, and it's beautiful, but you got to be mayor. You can't be mayor and sell insurance and be a volunteer fire department or anything else. I'm going to be 100% mayor, and I think that's the important thing here, is to get out there and do the job for this city and to make sure that these things get done. Are we done?
Yep. Okay, we're going to move to City Council specific questions.
I think it's my turn. You're going to give me an extra second?
No.
I need it.
Sorry, I'll attempt to do a better job. Apparently, someone hasn't eaten dinner yet and would like to get home. Mr. Saunders, do you still remember the question?
Yeah, but maybe we should just hear it one more time,
All right.
just to make sure.
That's fair enough. What are your priorities for Smithville over the next 5 years? Can you give examples of special projects you would like to implement or priorities you would focus on specifically in your role as mayor?
All right, well, I'm sitting here and it's pretty cold right now, and that air conditioner was due to a grant that we got to make this an emergency shelter that had tens of hundreds of people in here when the fires were going on and floods were going on. We also are expanding the rec center to make this a shelter for when people need it, they have a safe place to go in a community that cares about them. And I think you should be a member of the community, a firefighter, a Chamber of Commerce member, so you know what the people need. I mean, anyway, thank you for this question. It's important to highlight with this question that while I have hundreds of projects I would like to do, our budget will only provide for a few. I have multiple ideas for projects that will not cost a dime, and I'll share them with you right now. Firstly, the future of this community depends on our youth, the opportunities we can provide for them, and the involvement they have in this community. Recently, I attended the Texas Municipal League Summit. The topic was Youth Advisory Council. For so long, we as the leaders have met at our budget workshops and wondered and even debated the best things to do for the kids. But we've never actually asked the kids what they would like. I'm aware of the drug problems in school and in this community, as well as a perceived lack of entertainment for high school age students. That being said, I will create the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. The council will consist of students that will serve as a committee under my direction to advise myself and the city council as to what they are interested in and what they would like to see in town. They will see that we will use that information and base our budget proposals toward future youth projects of their benefit. I will also work with the Cultural and Arts District to make sure that Smithville remains a destination location and enhance our art and culture throughout the town. Another focus of mine will be MLK Park and the baseball fields. Ashley, Dietra, Jack, Robert, and myself have met about this area numerous times. This is a heavily utilized area and one that needs some attention. I was at the Little League field just this last week, and the restrooms and concession stand needs an overhaul. We thought we had a good grant, but it fell through. We're applying for another one, and it looks pretty promising. These will be some of my major focal points. Thank you, Moderator Wee Wee.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. I had momentarily forgot who I was.
I have to go back to the drainage problem. Since my own yard was nearly 1 foot underwater last week, and my rental properties also suffered, I think I would, it's on the top of everyone's list, isn't it? So perhaps as individual property owners, we could take a different view of how we build or how we renovate, perhaps. But certainly, that has to be addressed properly before any further infrastructure plans are made. And it seems important that we would identify in advance where flood plains are and not permit building on them. I'm not even going to take my whole 90 seconds on that, because that's just the top of the list for all of us, and it seems to require some more attention to how we do that.
Mr. Short.
Yeah, so the city already implements managing tools to assure that the funds are being managed efficiently. First off, the city receives an annual audit report that is done by an outside auditor. This audit is done to ensure that the city is accountable, transparent, and cost-effective, and is reviewed on a monthly basis throughout the year. The council also receives a report each month from the city finance director to review. This line item report will show where budgetary problems might be occurring, thus allowing the council to address the issues. The council is also presented with and reviews all major purchases made by the city. As far as making sure the funds are being provided equally, citizen input is encouraged and accepted through public forums before a budget is set, and allows citizens to voice their suggestions as to where the money should be spent. The council also relies on information and recommendations from the Public Works Director, who has a hands-on perspective of what goes on throughout the city. To me, this is a valuable information, since he sees firsthand what problems need to be addressed and is able to prioritize them for council review. I would use all these tools to help manage the city funds and help coordinate and prioritize where and how the funds are dispersed.
Third and last specific question for council candidates. Again, a 90-second question. With the increase in housing construction and lack of rental properties in our area, coupled with the accelerated growth of Bastrop County, how would you plan to maintain and/or upgrade our existing infrastructure to accommodate this growth? Ms. Holt.
I have to go back to the drainage problem. Since my own yard was nearly 1 foot underwater last week, and my rental properties also suffered, I think I would, it's on the top of everyone's list, isn't it? So perhaps as individual property owners, we could take a different view of how we build or how we renovate, perhaps. But certainly, that has to be addressed properly before any further infrastructure plans are made. And it seems important that we would identify in advance where flood plains are and not permit building on them. I'm not even going to take my whole 90 seconds on that, because that's just the top of the list for all of us, and it seems to require some more attention to how we do that.
Mr. Short.
Okay, this is a really good question. And as an individual who's currently working on a couple residential development projects in town, this is something I really looked into. So the easy answer to this question would be to encourage development where the city's infrastructure already exists, thus taking the financial burden of expanding the infrastructure out of the equation. Where the infrastructure doesn't exist, development costs should be deferred or partially deferred to the developer. We should also look into applying for government grants to assist with these costs. Residential development is vital to the success of any town, but it's also costly when compared to commercial development. Commercial development puts less of a strain and cost on city services while adding to the property tax base and adding sales tax dollars. This is a good reason why spurring commercial, or better yet, industrial development in our community is so important. It's not a question of when the growth will hit us, it's how soon. The city manager and council have been proactive with infrastructure upgrades, such as initiating improvements to the Dorothy Nichols water plant, which has increased our water output and also expanded our water storage capacity. They're also expanding sewage and water service along Highway 71 between the Colorado River and Highway 95 in preparation for future development. I would continue this proactive approach as your councilman to make sure that the city's infrastructure is already in place to help expedite and ease the sudden financial burden of future development.
Thank you. My imagination or just your writer? Okay.